We're going to be using Pink Ink's brand new Merry Christmas stamp today, and I'm just going to be using two stamps from it, so the little mouse on the bauble and Merry Christmas. It's going to be a very simple card and hopefully I can do it reasonably quickly. So I've got everything I need set out. I've got the stamping blocks with the bits on there already, and I've got my VersaFine ink mat, pencils, pen, and I've cut out a card using the Elizabeth Craft Designs stitched indent squares. I've used the biggest one from that. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp out the sentiment on the bottom. So that's going to make that. Okay, so I'm just using VersaFine ink to stamp out the words, and then I do the same with the main bauble image as well. I just want to place him right in the centre because he's going to be the focal point, and then I can show my masks. Okay, now I've already stamped my masks out, but all I've used is post-it notes, big post-it notes, and then I've stamped him onto there, so I've got one sticky edge as being used, and then because this is so thin, I've sort of got 4 of them and cut one lot out, so I've ended up, oops, so he was the top one, and then I've cut them all out, so it saves having to cut out loads. You can actually cut more than one out in one go. Obviously, depending on how sharp your scissors are, you could probably get 6-8 layers out of that. So I'm just going to use one of these, and as you can see, they've got one little bit on the side that's sticky. So I want to put that up there. Okay, and then I want to create it so he's got more baubles behind him. So all I've done is I've got a washi tape that's round about the same size as his own bauble. And I'm going to use the outer edge and the inner edge. So again, to create the mask, drawn round, one on the outside, one on the inside, and then this is how I've got my smaller ones here. So getting a pencil, I'm just going to work out where we're going to put them. So one out there, and I'm just doing this in pencil first because obviously I want to do the top of the baubles and everything. I want to space them out and work out where they're going to go. Okay, so I was just continuing to draw around where I wanted them. I ended up with 2 big and 2 small, and then stuck my masks over the top, because then I want to add in the foliage. So to do that, I literally just stamp or use the VersaFine on the top of the stamp, which you can see there. Not too worried about the little string that hangs down on the bauble because it will be covered up, and you stamp it 3 or 4 times under the one inking, and you get, obviously, sort of starts creating the depth. The other thing I did was pull back a couple of the masks just so that you had the overlay, so it looked like some of them were further back in the foliage as well, and that seemed to work really well. I was quite pleased with that. And so I kept going until I was absolutely happy with where everything was placed, and then peeled off all the masks to have a look to see what it looked like. Okay, so now we've got the baubles in the background. So this one we're going to take I've got a fine Uniball micro fine liner marker. And the first thing I want to do is draw in, so we've got this top bit here. So all it is a semicircle, 2 lines up, line across, and you're just creating a little loop for the string. And do all the wavy bits here. So I'm obviously not trying to copy it completely, I'm just imitating the way it looks because it's going to be in the background. And the same for here, semicircle, 2 lines up, semicircle, a little loop, fill it in, ribbon. So I just carried on drawing round the baubles. Obviously you can see some of them you can barely see in the background. You could decide to do some extra doodles on the baubles, or like patterns, things like that. I want to keep mine plain. All I wanted to do was add in the shading so I just copied what shading was in the original stamp and then used that. I'm going to colour him in first, and then I can do the background afterwards. So I've just got a water brush and my Intense pencils. The colours I'm using are there, if you can see. Okay, so I start off colouring the top of the bauble and the background of the mouse. So I use the mustard, which is the 1700 from the Derwent Intense pencils, and then I use the Baked Earth and the Sicilian Yellow to build up my shading. Now I do use the water brush straight from the pencils, which some people don't like doing. So you could just put the pencil onto a bit of sandpaper and take it from there, use it like an ink palette. Also, to get the shading on the mouse, to make the really dark, I use the bark colour, which is the 2000 code. And then for the bauble itself, as you can see, I was looking at the greens to match the bow that I wanted to add to it. So I used the leaf green and the hooker's green on that. I do find that 2 shades of one colour work better with adding it in, and then to get the even darker shading on it, I've used the charcoal grey to go around the edges. And I've put a little bit back into the mouse as well to make him even darker, because obviously I wanted him to pop against the background. And then for the little swirls, I then used the poppy red, which is the 400, and literally just kept applying till it was dark enough that I wanted it to stand out again. I didn't want any shaded bits on it, I just wanted the one colour. And then I'm using finally the Payne's Grey to the 2110, my favourite colour in the whole set. And I'm literally going to shade all the baubles, the outsides, just with different layers will give you the different depths. So you can see I sort of started with the baubles and then worked in the background, and I wanted the background dark where it would have been further back in the tree, and the shadows created underneath the baubles as well, and just used the water brush to tease out the colour, and if I wanted to make it stronger I just went back in with a bit more. Again, this will work with normal watercolour pencils, it's fine, or watercolour palette if you've got it. You could of course do the background in green or keep it full colour, but I wanted the background to be monochrome, so that's why I just chose the Payne's Grey, which is more like a dark blue, but it's really nice shadow effect. I don't know if you can quite see on there the effect, but hopefully when you see the actual final card it will show up. But it works really well with any colour. It's a bit like wearing a pair of jeans with any other top, even though blue doesn't necessarily go with everything. For some reason a pair of jeans does. I guess that's what the colour is, it's a jean colour. So now I've finished all the colouring, just got to heat set it, and then gone in with white gel pen. So I'm just highlighting the mouse and then the baubles, and I want them to obviously make them look more 3D, so I'm thinking about where the shading points would be and where the highlights would be if they had lights on the tree. So it's pretty much just around the edges, a little bit of white on top of the... So the next thing I did was get some of the Sparkle Star Sparkle pink ink paint and just added some extra bits with a dry brush, just to give the tops. And then I got from my own die set, I cut out a couple of pine branches that are very similar to the stamp, and again put some sparkle on the edges of those. Then I got my card blank ready, which I had black card at 6 inches, white at 5 3/4, and a black at 5 1/2, because my main image that I cut out was 5 1/4. Just stuck it down with some PVA. I was quite happy with where that positioned, and then used some 3D gel glue to stick in my 3 little leaves that I die cut out and the bow that I showed you earlier, and just made sure it was all positioned right. And then I decided that it needed a couple of extra gems, so I just got out some red gems I had in my set. That what I did make sure, as you can see, was I didn't go too close to the edge, because I created that shading and I didn't want it to go too far. So thank you.